What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. Today, I have a special guest for round two. That's Brad Ellison of what once was Somerset Painting and now is Ellison Painting. He is in the startup phase, the launch phase. He started his own gig and he is ready to take over Michigan, and he's hitting it with a full steam ahead. So, wanted to bring him on here. I wanted you to hear a little bit about his mindset going into this, which I believe is how everyone should go into it, just guns a blazing, and pick up the pieces later. Brad's going through it though. I mean, there's hiring issues. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things going on. But this is what it's about. It's about sharing this knowledge and letting you know out there that everyone goes through this, but keep pushing, keep fighting through. And Brad's a great example of that. So you're gonna love this. Brad's a great friend. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this one today. Contractors all over the world are wanting more time, more freedom, more impact. The way we do this is through implementing systems, processes, standards. Welcome to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. Here we hit business strategy, coaching, mindset, motivation, the tools you need for success. So strap in, listen up, and get ready to grow on the Contractor Secrets Podcast. Seconds. There we go. All right, man. We are live. I got Brad, the CEO and founder of Ellison Painting. So this is a little bit different than our first meeting when you joined me on the podcast, which we were talking about your journey as a rockstar salesperson, soon to be owner of the business you were working for. We don't need to get into too much detail about what happened or why. Really, what I wanted to do today is really just hear a little bit about the grind that you're currently in, man. And I one thing I've noticed, just to give everyone a heads up, is like, you have tapped heavily into your resources, man. Like, so you worked for this company, you started Ellison Painting, you went and you got some exposure from people that are leading the industry, Jason Paris, obviously being surrounded by, good people at the PCA. And dude, you've tapped your resources, man. You have Eric helping you with marketing. You're using Dripjobs for your software. You have a mentor in Jason and Nick and all these things, man. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're going through in trying to scale. First, let us know what the goal is and where you're currently at in your journey.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for having me back on your podcast. I know I've expressed it to you directly, but man, I've really appreciated everything that you've done for me since we met over a year ago now. So I consider you a friend, and you are wise, and you offer so much value to this industry. So just keep it up, man. Everyone here really, really appreciates you.
Thank you, man. Absolutely, my pleasure.
So enough of boosting your ego. Let's boost mine a little bit, hey? Just kidding. Yeah, it's been a wild 3 or 4 months. So as you mentioned, and as we've talked before on your show and other podcasts that I've been on, for a lot of years, I was running someone else's company. And I started with that company with a very clear goal and a clear agreement that I would start as a salesperson, I would take over management of the business, and when my partner retired, I was going to buy the business. A couple of years ago, we came to terms for a purchase agreement. And really what happened is, since we signed that agreement, a few things happened that were outside of my control that made the company not worth what we had agreed upon. So we were still interested in buying the company. We made efforts to renegotiate. Ultimately, it just all fell apart, and it became very clear that we couldn't work together anymore.
Sure.
So my wife and I took a leap of faith and said, okay, well, start Ellison Painting. I have been highly, highly blessed over the past year, maybe 18 months, to make a lot of connections with people within our industry in a lot of different positions, a lot of different sectors that have been instrumental in allowing us to get things going, not only quickly, but man, on such a rock solid foundation.
Yeah.
So Jason Paris, I consider a very, very good friend now. I visited him up in Minneapolis. I spent a lot of time with him on the Nick Slavic's Ask a Painter Live Winter Retreat. I talk to him almost on a daily basis. He's coming to visit me in August. He's just such a great guy. He's such a humble
Yeah.
guy. And we couldn't be more different personality wise, right? He's like like just a heavy introvert, and I'm the exact opposite.
Sure.
But man, he's been so wise and so helpful and just offering me counsel. Nick Slavic, of course, and the group that he brought together for the Ask a Painter Live Winter Retreat. The relationships I met there in those 4 or 5 days are the people that I speak to every day. My wife and I had a FaceTime double date last night with Matt and Maggie Kuiper of Harpeth Painting down in Nashville. They're again couple of my really good friends, and we love talking strategy. We love talking life. We love talking family and faith. Chris Elliott and Emily Elliott and On It Painting in Indianapolis. Brandon Pierpont is my marketing guy. I hired him. He's building my website. He's managing my SEO and my PPC. Of course, I'm using your system. Move. Hired Eric Fosnacht and Pathfinder Marketing. I've said this, that I don't know that anyone has had a better chance at quick and long-term success in starting a painting company than I have right now. A lot of that is the relationships, as I just discussed, but a lot of it is, we have a little bit more money saved up than other people would have to start a painting company. A lot of guys start with, as Jason Paris says, a paintbrush and a dream. And we actually have some money to invest and build a company quickly. I think this is going to be interesting.
You'll probably find that you won't even use a lot of it.
Well, now I'm worried. Like, I haven't even launched a lot of my marketing activities, and we have leads coming in like crazy. Before we signed on, I closed another $12,000 exterior job just through word of mouth. And now I'm like, oh shoot, I've committed all this money to spend in marketing. Will we even have the bandwidth to complete the work? Yeah. So I'm going to have to shift my my focus very, very heavily into the recruiting.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's interesting about this whole thing is that when you were selling for the other company, you were like selling for a company that was doing multi-millions of dollars. So you already can embody that mindset of, this is how many estimates I have to do. This is the standard of which we need to do them. To you, the selling is the easy part. In terms of the production, managing the production, sort of easy because you've done this and you've worked with subcontractors, but creating the production was something that I think wasn't your responsibility. It was already there for you. Maybe you had a part in recruiting some. I've seen you put some posts out, but it was never like 100% your responsibility to source these contractors, to get them in line, to create the standard. How has that been for you in terms of like, what has been the big challenge? I think you posted a poll the other day that you reached out to a subcontractor, the guy was late, and you're already having these, these thoughts. And on top of that, I'd like you to hit on, how do you avoid the temptation of compromising to satisfy your newfound demand?
So the recruitment of subcontracting crews is absolutely going to be the most difficult thing in expanding and scaling our business. We had a lot of crews through my previous company, and when we left, I made a commitment to, obviously I'm not going to steal any of my old customers, and we made a commitment to not steal any of the crews, though some of them may prefer to work with me, and they had the relationship with me since I was running the business for a few years. But I want to be above board. I want to operate with integrity. As you know, that's the biggest thing for me and my wife. And so, we started from scratch. Now, again, because I have some relationships within the industry, crews were being referred to me. And my Sherwin-Williams rep that I signed up for, that I used to work with my old business, referred some crews over. We're starting there. Advertising on our Facebook marketing group. My wife and I are going to be spending some time at local Sherwin-Williams stores to try to see if we can find some crews there. We're doing whatever we can to find those crews. But to answer your question, how do we avoid the temptation of kind of letting anyone work for us to start? That's going to be the hard one. So to follow up on that story on Facebook, and for those of you that didn't see it, I had this guy had reached out through the Facebook painting contractors group, wanting to meet to talk about subbing. Said, of course. So I scheduled a date, I scheduled a time, I confirmed, and I went. He messaged me about 35 minutes before our time and said, hey, I'm going to be running about 20 minutes late. I'm like, no big deal. I'm here. I can catch up on other work anyway. And so I waited, and then I waited, and I messaged him, and I called, no answer. And eventually, 45 minutes after our scheduled time, I just left. So that's when I posted the poll on your group is, how would you respond if I ever hear back from this guy? Well, I heard back from the guy, and his phone had died. He had dropped it in water the day before. He couldn't get it to turn on. He was on his way there and didn't know where exactly he was going. So he pulled over into a 7-Eleven to charge his phone. It never turned on, yada, yada, yada. I'm so sorry. My name is my reputation. If you would give me another chance, I'd love to meet you. And I said, all right, well, I'm meeting another possible sub crew tomorrow. I will be at this place. I will meet you at 2:45 p.m. If you show up, I'll still meet with you. Thank you so much. Oh, that's great. I'll be there. He messages me an hour before. Hey, we're still on for 2:45, right? I said, yes, I will be there. Homeboy never showed up. Messaged me saying, oh, sorry, it's just such a far drive. Could we meet closer? Gas is so expensive.
Dude, you know what's crazy is like he doesn't know how much of a bag was dropped in terms of what could have been given to him.
Without
That's
spending,
crazy.
without wasting too much of my time in responding back to him, I just said, listen, man, the crews that have worked for me have nonstop work. They're paid well. They're paid immediately. I never waste their time, and they know they're never going to they should never waste my time either, especially 2 days in a row. So this is not going to work out. Best of luck to you. And that was that. So I don't know, like I've needed so many second chances in my life in both big things and small, and I'm sure you have too, because you're like a person, right? We all need second chances.
Sure.
And I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. And so, like, man, of course I was skeptical that he was going to show up the next day, but like maybe I need crews. And if this guy honestly just had, really bad day and needs a second chance, I'll give him a second chance. But I think you need to be able to recognize when people show you who they really are. And I can't have that type of crew showing up for my jobs, or in this case, not showing up.
What's interesting is that if you were working for the other company still, that would be a non-negotiable, not even a second chance to be given, because you guys are operating at such a high level so fast that any hiccups just throws a wrench. It's almost like you guys had leverage in a sense. And what's interesting is when we start up, we almost feel like we don't have the leverage. And we sometimes, that's why I wanted to ask this question, because some people do this when it comes to their employees, bro. I mean, they'll just bring on anyone because they need someone, rather than having what you had in a sense after that second meeting of like, you know what, that's it. We're done.
Yeah,
so
and that's definitely a danger when you're starting out. It was a really good reminder to me that I need to continually operate from a position of power. Not obviously not, that doesn't mean I want to control people, but I can't make decisions out of fear or desperation.
Right. And there's a lot of pressure on you, man. There is. I mean, you got jobs that are being sold, I'm sure the schedule's getting a little deep, and, so we briefly talked about potentially going into employees. I seen you comment on one of Nick's posts about it. It's something maybe you guys are really thinking about. What has that been, what's the conversation about that look like?
Yes, that was something that my wife and I talked about yesterday, which, by the way, you haven't met my wife yet. Everyone that has loves her. She's the absolutely best person in this whole world. This is how I know God loves me, because he let me marry her. Because we're starting out, she actually decided to come work full time with me, and she had worked with me previously at my last company. She served as project manager for a year and a half, and that year and a half was the easiest year and a half at that company. She is so smart. People love her. The crews love her. She understands relationships, how to communicate. So, so she's coming on board with me, and that's going to be really, really valuable. What was your question?
Great. My question was, in terms of the employees,
what has been the
thought process?
Yeah. So we started chit-chatting yesterday about it, because, you mentioned it to me, got me thinking. I talked to Rachel. I mentioned it to Nick. I don't know if you know Lauren. Oh yeah, you know Lauren Fink. Of course, she's out on our group, right? Yeah. Chatted a little bit with her last night. I think there's a lot of value in having at least a couple employee crews. The problem, as you know, is I'm not a painter. I can't train a painter. I can't train people without experience to paint, which means if I'm going to start that process, I have to find someone that has the right skill set. They need to be able to paint. But more importantly than that, they need to be able to train other people to paint, and they need to be able to they have to have some leadership skills in order to lead a crew or two, right? I don't have any experience in the employee model. Everything that I've ever done in the painting industry has been through subcontractors. But as I've shared with you before, God works in my life in very direct ways. I feel like he grabs my shoulders and he's like, nope, go this way. Nope, go that way. Go that way. Here's this opportunity. Yo, do this. So to go off on a bit of a tangent, when my wife and I bought our house 4.5 years ago, we bought it in like our dream city. It's got a creek in our backyard. It's 2.5 acres. It's a beautiful house that needed to be renovated, and we're in the process of doing all that. But we verbalized that our vision for our home was for it to be a haven for people that needed a place to stay. And that could be for a short time, could be for a long time. But we really believe in putting our money where our mouth is, and God has given us a certain amount of resources, and we feel an obligation to help people. So the reason why this is relevant is very recently there's a guy at our gym. He's a 22-year-old guy, super nice guy, super responsible, but had a bit of a rough upbringing. His roommate was moving out of town because he got a new job, and he can't afford to live by himself. And so his option was to move back in with his mom, which, I won't go into details, but not a healthy situation. So I talked to Rachel. I said, hey, this guy needs a place to stay. We know him. We trust him. This is an opportunity for us to put our money where our mouth is, and let's open up our home to him. So in the midst of our we have cabinets being installed today as part of our renovation at our own house. Everything's torn up on our first floor. We have a guest room and we have a finished basement. So this weekend, this guy moved in with us full time. He happens to be a former painter by trade. I met him through the gym. I didn't meet him through the painting industry. He works at a manufacturing company right now, making like $17 an hour. But for 2.5 years, he worked for his uncle's painting company, managed his crews, rebuilt decks, did carpentry, did finish painting, did everything. And I didn't bring him into my house, obviously, so that he could come work for me. But I brought him into my house so that he would have the opportunity to breathe and figure out what he can do with his life moving forward without the pressure of all the financial burden of trying to live on his own, and not really having any male mentors, not really having a vision of or an experience seeing what a healthy family could look like. But you know what? Maybe God orchestrated this so that he would see an opportunity to work with me, and I could provide him an opportunity to really start a successful career. And in doing so, helps my business. I mean, this might be the ideal situation where I could bring him on as a foreman or crew leader and start building a team around him. Now, again, I don't know if that's where we're going to go, but I am always looking for those opportunities, and this might
Amazing.
be one of those.
I
Right?
love it, man. I love it. It could be, and I
Could be.
operate in the same way. I think being open and you created that opportunity through listening to the call, man. And I think one thing that I wanted to point out in this is the humility you've shown through just seeking the wisdom of others. And what's interesting is when you do that, look at all the doors that have opened to you, because people want you to win. Like I don't know, there's something about your personality. They want you to win. But it's because you're purpose driven. It's not just because you want to get rich and make a lot of money. I think that you could do a lot of good with it and create a lot of jobs. And if I could convert everyone from the sub model to the employee model, I would, just because of what it's done for me in my life, and the relationships that I've built. And we see these people every day, and they wear our brand, and there's some sort of, there's a feeling of like, just for me, what I've seen is just like people love representing the brand and what it means and the culture and the values. And from my experience, not all the time, but from my experience with subcontractors, many of them are in it for their own best interest. They want to make their money and they want to go home, and it's all about the number, and it's all about, they're not going to, some will, but most, don't have that awareness of their actions and how it affects the whole. Because in my business, the brand takes care of their family. The brand allows them to achieve their goals. They know that every customer needs that experience. And, if you've never experienced that, I truly believe that it's one of the best parts of business, really. I mean, when you operate in the subcontractor model, what you're really doing is you're building other people's businesses, which isn't a bad thing. But what that could do is essentially create, a divide. It's almost like just a transaction rather than I'm providing jobs for people that come to work, wear my brand, wear my culture. And what you're doing with the young man, look at all the opportunity that could turn into. It could give you the ability to work on the muscle of taking somebody and instilling the leadership values that you have learned and your wife know, into somebody, and seeing if that could be taught. And if it could be taught, can it be systemized, and can it grow from there? I think it's awesome. And yeah, you can always do the sub model, but having one or two crews, like you said, man, I mean, it's a good thing, and it's powerful because you go to the customer and you say, hey, you're going to meet, if let's say his name's Joe, you're going to meet Joe. He's our project manager. He's been with us for this many years, and you can say, these guys are committed to our brand. We're not using subcontractors like everyone else. So you can, when to use that and when not to. I've used that as a sales point. So that's exciting, man. I think, I'm sure you'll know what to do when the time comes.
I've had that conversation about impact and building a legacy with guys like Chris Elliott. He's primarily a subcontractor model, but he's thinking about getting into an employee based, like a hybrid. So you have half and half. And I understand what you're saying, that you obviously have a more direct impact on the people that work for you if they're working for Premium Painting or Ellison Painting. But as an entrepreneur myself, I actually love the idea of helping these guys build their business. And if I can help build their business while they're helping to build mine as well, I think it could be a very valuable win-win, not just for them and for me, but then for the industry. If I can spin off a few other mini Ellison Paintings in the area that are kind of running very highly professionalized organizations, I think that's good. And yeah, it hurts. It'll hurt each time that one of those guys really figures it out and knows how to go out on their own, and they're no longer working with me. But that's a price of doing business and doing it that way. So, like, I understand. I think it can be done both ways. I think you can accomplish it in different ways and have different types of impacts. But I do believe that it can be done through the subcontractor
just look at
model,
the
which is different.
opportunity. But that's what's interesting, is that I've been doing this with employees for so long that it's like you see these individuals that need an opportunity, and most of the time the subcontractors have it together. I mean, if you're going to hire a subcontractor, they typically understand business. They could sell their own jobs if they want. They can provide for themselves. They're usually pretty self-sufficient. But then when you put together a team of employees, usually you're dealing with somebody that doesn't like where they work, that wants an opportunity to be in a management position, or wants an opportunity to work for a growing company, that wants the feeling of security, that wants to, I mean, it's just interesting. But yeah, having the balance, I believe, is you can have it both ways. You can impact other businesses or subcontractors, but I can go on and on, man.
On a practical business operations level, though, it is different being down in Florida than up in Michigan. The obviously the big value to operating with subcontractors is the seasonal scalability.
Right.
So I could envision it. Maybe I have 8 to 10 employees working directly for Ellison Painting.
I will say this: there's one person in the world that has completely convinced me otherwise when it comes to the winter, and that's Nick. I mean, the guy keeps his employees busy throughout the year. He's got 24 of them.
Yeah, I know, but I think he's got more than that, actually.
Does he?
But you don't base the rule on the exception, right? And so everyone's. I'm certainly not Nick Slavic, and not everyone will be. And even Jason Paris, who runs a much larger organization than Nick, uses subcontractors and it scales seasonally, right? But even Jason, they're now planning on bringing on some employees. Probably going to focus primarily on interior, and they'll keep them working year round. And that's a vision that I could see for Ellison Painting as well. For now, what I got to do is get some crews, sell some jobs,
and get rolling. So how far out are you booked right now? So you started. When did you start selling? So you started.
I closed. Yeah. So I closed my first estimate last Monday. So that's 8
And
8
how
days
many
ago.
crews or how many people did you have in production at that time that you closed it? Because it couldn't have been much. You're like, what
I had
was it?
one solid crew.
One crew?
Um, one crew, but he has 6 guys.
So this is what I want to point out here, okay? Because this is something that I teach a lot on my podcast when it comes to my business breakthroughs and all the different things that I do. Is like, you went in with the mindset of like, I'm going to find a way or make a way. You've hired 2 marketing agencies, Brandon Pierpont, Eric Fashnack. Okay. You have a
Well, and
phenomenal. Wait,
I
what?
just placed an order today for 50,000 door hangers
Oh,
through another
so you have,
local campaign that are going to
right.
start being delivered next
You
week.
have 3 major marketing avenues, 4 being some word of mouth. You got a phenomenal software in Dripjobs, just saying. I mean, I've heard it's great.
It's working well so far.
Yes. All right, cool. But listen, but what I want you to see, and anyone listening to this, is that you literally hedged your growth and motivation because you're literally forcing yourself to find these subs, forcing yourself to be creative when it comes to hiring, forcing yourself to recruit. Every day, that's your focus because you know the demand is coming. You're no different than anyone else. All you really did was reach out to the public resources that all of us would be happy to share all of our information, all of our resources. Anyone can reach out to Nick. Anyone can reach out to Jason. Anyone can reach out to Eric or Brandon or even Ryan or anyone who's like putting themselves out there to say, like, come here, we'll help you. I'm sure anyone can find someone to do mailers, right? You did that. You actually acted. You made the decision to pay the money, to pay the ticket price, to unlock the resources of these individuals. Great. And you found one subcontractor crew, and you're literally selling jobs as if you have 5 or 6 of them.
Well, I do have more now. So I since then, since I sold my first job, I have 4 other crews that have committed to taking work from us. Now, the
But
volume of work that they're
you
going to be able
did
to take
that
with us,
because you know it's
sure.
coming. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's coming. Like, you hustled to find them, and you're going to keep going and going and going to find them. I just think like what you did there, like, was automatic for you in a sense. Like, you kind of just like stepped into it. But what you really accomplished was something that many individuals who want to get past a certain level of, you know, growth just freeze because they don't spend money on the marketing because they're scared they can't keep up with the demand. Right. That's a fear that you have, but you're forced to because you've already committed to the marketing. So essentially you have no choice, which is a good thing because now you can act on the recruiting, act on the hiring, and all that stuff is just so good, man. It's commendable.
And the reality is, I mean, you understand marketing is you can slow down your marketing efforts and you can slow down your marketing spend if things get backed up too much, right? But for now, I'd rather go guns a-blazing, sell a bunch of jobs, and as you mentioned, force myself to find the crews to do the work. And it's, I mean, there's a couple different strategies there. Some people have that measured strategy. They're not going to try to sell any more jobs until they know they have their crews going. Well, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'm just going to sell. I'm going to step forward in faith.
What is your so when you made the decision to do all this, right? I'm sure it was kind of scary, right? I mean, could you be honest and say that jumping out on your own from a place of 100% certainty was a decision that took a lot of thought, maybe even prayer? Just was this a big decision for you?
It was a huge decision. And if you had told me even 3 or 4 years ago that I was going to walk away from the type of money that I was making each year working for someone else to risk it all and start my own thing, be like, that's not me, man.
So I have 2 questions for you. For you. In terms of the leader of the previous organization, what could he have done differently to sway this in a way to where you would have stayed?
Well, it's a very complicated situation. The reality is he's coming up on retirement age, and he was told from his financial planner that he needed a certain amount of money in his bank account before he could retire. And that's ultimately, I couldn't offer that. I couldn't promise that I was going to give him that amount of money. So the only thing that he could have done really is said, okay, well, I need less money, I guess. But if you need money, you need money. So the only option for him was then to keep working. And because of how the negotiations kind of fell apart and how our personal relationship kind of fell apart, I didn't see us being able to work together moving forward. So a guy like me, I don't know. I mean, I I want to be my own boss. So that I don't know that there's anything that he could have incentivized me with to stay and continue to work for him when I really needed to be working for
Sure.
myself.
Sure. It was just yeah. So in terms of that, the push to take action on the decision had to have, what I always reference is a why. There was something greater than your own, your own self-interest, because you probably would have done this a long time ago. What's that thing, man, that's driving you beyond just the money? Is there some greater purpose that you're wanting to achieve? I mean, because I'm sure you know that the money's never going to satisfy you. So what is that thing that's pushing you to make the decision to go through with all this craziness?
Well, I guess there's probably two fundamental reasons. The first one is, and I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but 8 years ago, I, I had to start over from scratch. I lost everything. I had been married before. My ex-wife and I separated. Um, when we separated, I lost my job because the guy, I was a sales director for his company, and basically he said, I don't want a divorced guy being the public face of my company, so I got fired. I got kicked out of my church, lost all my friends. Um, I was, I mean, I had no control over my situation. And so when Rachel and I got together and got married, we had a shared vision that we didn't want anyone to control our future anymore. We wanted to have 100% control. And that might mean we make less money than we would if we were working for someone, but we wanted to be in control of that. So right after we got married, we quit our jobs. We started our first business together, which was a health insurance agency, which is still up and running, that
No
Rachel
way.
runs on the side part-time. Yep. And then that morphed into a sales contracting business. And our only customer for that sales contracting business was that other painting contractor that I was running. Right. So even though I was running his business, I was kind of working for him. It was still my own company, and we were making our own money. Right. So that's part of it is, we believe that we don't want other people to control our destiny, career wise. But more importantly than that for me is, I want to change the legacy for my family. And I love my family. I love my mom and dad, but they are not married, and the divorce wasn't great. And my relationship with my dad has been strained for more than 2 decades. And I want the legacy in my family to be that we are, hardworking. We love people. We are generous. And I want my kids to see a healthy family situation. I want them to see that their mom and dad not only love each other, but we like each other. We have a family motto. We do those family meetings. Have you started doing those, by the way?
I have not. I've seen it though.
Bro, you got to get on the family meetings.
Yeah.
And we have a family motto, and we review it every time we have a meeting on a weekly basis. It's our family wants to be silly, be kind, and be adventurous. My whole focus of my life is, man, is my family. And the best way for me to provide for my family and set an example for my kids and be a good partner and sometimes leader and sometimes follower for my wife is to run our business, run it with integrity, run it in fairness, and just do what God calls us to do. Just like be, as Nick Slavic says, simply be decent human beings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you do that. I mean, going back to what you said earlier, that's why people are willing to help me, and why I've made so many friends within this industry is because I think I just treat people okay, and I love people, and
Yeah.
I know I'm not the smartest guy in the room ever, and I'm certainly not the most creative, which is why Ellison painting is not. You know what it is? It's Paris painting, Nick Slavic painting and restoration, Harpeth painting, premium painting 2.0. All I'm doing is taking everything that you guys have done and have done better than me over the past 5 years and building a company around those things.
Wow. And that's awesome. And one thing that stands out to me, I'm fascinated with, just one thing I'm fascinated is what pushes people to go beyond their limits, right? In terms of being heroic and essentially like, dude, you're trying to be the hero of your family. And that's something that I identify with very well, trying to change the course of the chaos. And I think business
Mhm.
offers us such a blessing to be able to do that. I think business is one of the greatest personal development courses and training that you'll ever get in your life, is going out on your own and figuring it
Mhm.
out. And every day you wake up, everything is 100% on you to not only provide
Mhm.
for your family and provide for the families of the individuals that come to work for you or the subcontractors. And dude, this is a powerful spiritual journey that you're embarking on. And again, I speak for all the people that have helped you. We all want you to win because you make us better, right? You hold us to a higher standard, and that's a cool thing. And I think the more you collaborate with others doing good things in the industry, the better off you'll be. But hearing your story, it's just powerful, man. And there was a word that you left out, and I'm saying this word in my head over and over and over again when you were listing off the words that you identify with in terms of how you want to be seen as a family. And I think resilient is a word that should be
Mhm.
at the top of the list, man. That's a resilient attitude to be down on the lowest level of life, which I can't comprehend because I know it was
Mhm.
probably really hard, especially someone like you who, loves and cares, but resilience, bro. I mean, it's such a powerful word that I think should be worked into the to the queue.
Appreciate that. You know what? One of the big things that experience taught me was to have a lot of grace for other people, because throughout that kind of period of my life, there were a lot of really terrible things being said about me that weren't true. Um, and it just goes to show you that you never know what's going on in someone else's life. You never know if things that someone is saying, what's the other side of the story. Um, and so that's why, this kid that's living with us, man, I'm not going to judge him that he's, for where he's at. He never graduated high school. I can't judge him that he didn't finish high school. You know what I can do is say, hey, move into my house. I'm going to pay for you to get your GED, but that's the only expectation I have. You move into my house, you live here as long as we need you to live, or as you need to live here. You're going to get your GED, and then we're gonna talk about how to get you to the next phase of your life.
Yeah.
Because dude, he's a great kid. I don't know what I gotta show him grace, just like I needed people to show me
Yeah.
grace, and that people
Wow.
continue to show me grace on a daily basis.
That's and what an experience for your kids to see, just to witness the goodness, man. And
Mm,
look, I'm gonna put in my vote. I'm pulling for this kid to be part of your company. I'm pulling for him to, I mean, seriously, like a GED is cool, and I understand it has its place in terms of certificate and what it does, but there's no greater experience than learning the art of managing other humans.
mhm,
And initially off the bat, I assume that would be something that he will be assigned to do, because when you have
mhm.
been given the task of managing others, immediately you're held to a standard that you cannot hold yourself to on your own. And I
Sure.
think that's something I'm addicted to, man. I want to be in a position of leadership because it gives me the ability to create a hedge against my own faults. In other words,
Mm,
me putting myself out here on this podcast and giving advice and telling people to do certain things with their business, guess what?
yeah.
When no one's listening or watching me and I can go about my day and do things, I won't be able to live with myself if I don't operate in a way that reflects the advice I give or
Mhm.
what I tell my employees to do. So it's so
Well,
cool, man. The
bro,
art of managing others.
authenticity is important, and that's why I like you so much. When I talk to you when we're recording, and when I talk to you when we're not recording, you're the same guy. And I
Yeah,
think that
thanks.
we found a really interesting circle of people within
Sure.
this industry that is that. I don't have time for people that aren't authentic. And
Yeah,
if you're showing one face publicly, and then a completely different face when we're behind closed doors, I'm not here for it.
sure.
Um, yeah, I think you're a great model of that.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. And you
Yeah.
know what, man? I just want to say appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot of people listening, to this podcast. They will be when I put it out. But
Mm,
it's a story of hope, man. It's a story of courage. And that's why I was excited to get you back on here because anyone who hasn't heard Brad's podcast when you first came on, it's probably a
mhm,
totally different tone. You were on a totally different plane. Everything
mhm,
was set out for you. The path was laid out. You're like, I'm gonna buy this company. It's
mhm,
already cooking. But really, man, what this is doing for you is creating such a character building opportunity to for you to believe in yourself in a way that like you would have never had that chance because it was already laid out for you. Now you're building it from the
mhm.
ground up. scratch straight up. But it's just amazing, man. It's a really cool thing. And I think you can correlate this to what you did with your life 8 years ago, right? You had to start from zero and look what you have to do now. And I mean, you already have the skill set to do it with your life. It's it's nothing now when it comes to business.
Yeah, and I hope we're successful. But you know what? The reality is, if we're not, I've lost everything before, and I've come out better on the other side.
Boom.
And
What a
now,
mindset.
if I do fail, I can still stumble forward and come down and work for Tanner Mullen, or work for Matt and Maggie Kuiper, or work for Chris Elliott, or work for
Boom.
Jason Paris. I
Oh
bet I
yeah.
can get a
Dude, I would
job
love
in
to
the
have
painting
you
industry
sell my
working
jobs.
somewhere.
I would love to have you come sell here, man. This
Yeah.
would be like taking candy from a baby here, man. So listen, Brad, thanks so much, brother. I know you have a lot to do today. Again, man, just a great message of the grind. Hope I'd love to have you back in about 3 months just to see how far you've come. It's always good to get those catch up stories, and best of luck to you. Ellison
That'd be fun.
Painting. If you haven't seen Ellison Painting, they have probably one of the coolest logos. So look it up. It's pretty sweet. It's like a phoenix. I don't know what I mean. It's just powerful. It just looks cool. Can't wait to see it on some trucks and see your progress, man.
Well, appreciate you, Tanner, as always.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right.
What's up, guys? I hope you enjoyed that Contractor Secrets episode with Brad. And before you head out, I have a really cool pro spotlight coming up for you. This is a Dripjobs user that is crushing it. So you can hear a little bit about what they're doing in their business and how Dripjobs is helping them. What's up, everyone? I got my good friend Aaron here, Bounty Painting, who just reinvented himself, as he put it in his own words, in terms of growing his business. He was on a business breakthrough. So if you've heard of him before, it's probably because you listened to his breakthrough session. Dripjobs user, and today he's going to share with us some raw, authentic thoughts. We have not rehearsed this, so it could be bad, it could be good. I don't know. If it's bad, I probably won't post this. If it's good, no, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Aaron, what's up, brother?
How you doing?
Man, I'm great, man. Tell me, man. Tell me your thoughts, man. So you've been using it for now 3 months. You were not a skeptic. You really just went all in because you believed in me, which I appreciate. But again, that doesn't make up for whether the software is good or bad. So tell me your thoughts, man. What has it been doing for you?
Right out of the gate, it follows up. And even if you're good at sales, that is the hardest thing, especially, I mean, if you want to be really successful, you got to get good at cold calling. However, it beats everybody up. And if you've been told no by the same person 2, maybe 3 times, it beats you up. That's just the way humans are. The best salesman I know, it beats you up.
Yep.
Dripjobs does it for you automatically.
Yeah.
One of the first jobs I got, I think I signed up in like October, maybe very early November, and instantly I got a referral off the internet, and I set them up through Dripjobs. It was my very first, and I know it's not this way with everybody, but it was my very first Dripjobs setup. It followed up with them. I got a 5-star review, organic, completely, was not related to him.
Sure.
He loved the communication. I've got several stories like that. You follow up, you give them a proposal, and it's not that I forget about it. I don't have to continue to worry about, all right, did I follow up in a day? Did I follow up? And there's been a couple of times when people are like, hey, leave me alone. I'll let you know when I'm ready. You can disable Dripjobs. It's completely customizable. It pays for itself.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I think, early on, it's like, well, I think that's too much communication. And my argument is, well, here's the deal. It's either you have something doing this or you have to do it. And if you have to do it, then chances are, with how busy you are, you don't do it. And then nobody's happy. So, for anyone thinking that this is too much communication, honestly, do you feel like your customers are bombarded with communication, or do you feel as though it's the right amount? Customers are appreciative, and the average customer, not the outliers who just don't like it, but the average customer, do you think appreciate the communication?
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
That's what I wanted.
Point of view, cold calling is king.
Sure.
You have to do that. It does it for you. Like I said, I'm your customer.
Sure.
It gives me more money. Like, for example, I got an email, and one of my drips is an email saying, hey, we couldn't wait any longer. I got 2 jobs, two $10,000 jobs in the last $10,000 jobs in the last 30 days because of that email.
That's crazy.
Here's the one thing, anybody looking at drip jobs, go through and read all the drips. Because on the first one of those jobs, I always do an exit interview. Why'd you pick me? How many bids did you get?
Yeah.
Yada, yada. And I'm like, well, I got your email. And she said, the customer said, that was your email. I'm like, oh,
Wow.
so I looked,
Yeah.
but I was glad it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So in other words, go through it first so you know when the customer responds to you, like what it is that you're doing. Now,
Yeah.
some people think like, all right, well, Dripjobs is like this, communication thing. That's cool. But it's not just that, right? You can create proposals, you can project manage. Like what we're trying to do is create an all-in-one solution for you. In terms of the proposal presentation, we just released an update on the look and feel of it. What do you think of that, man? Is it helping you in terms of showcasing how professional you are based off of how it looks?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the things I always get in an exit interview. If they've had 3 bids or 2 bids or whatever, my price is usually right in there, closer to the top. What I get my proposals on is professionalism, the way I communicate, which is all drip jobs.
Yeah.
It takes all of that off my plate.
Sure.
In my business breakthrough in October, November, or whatever it was, I didn't have any employees. I got 4 employees. I'm just now starting to be able to not have to be at the job. I still have to set them up. I don't have a lead painter.
Oh, you're killing it, man.
But I don't have to be on the job. A huge part of that is drip jobs.
Wow. Yeah.
Just able to schedule, communicate with my customers, current customers, potential customers. It's for the price point. And I hate to say this to you because I like the price point I'm at. For the price point, and there's no contract. You don't have to sign up for a year. You don't have to sign.
No.
And if you
I don't even let anyone do that.
Right. It's a no-brainer.
Wow.
You
can't say it any better. Someone told me yesterday they would pay $1,000 per month for it. And I said, easy, buddy.
Yeah. Slow down.
Slow down, pal. No, I'm kidding. I love it. And it's awesome. Like in any situation, Aaron, like even me as a painting contractor and the way that I sell, realistically, I want to create more value than you feel like you're going to get. Like, in other words, I want to exceed your expectation. That's how you run your business, right? Like your customer pays you X amount of money. And then even though like you could do the bare minimum, it's natural for business owners that care to go a little above and beyond. And it's like, I love that, man, because that's one of my goals is to like wow you. And I think that the barrier is that in the same way, you ready for this? In the same way that when customers interview us as their painters, Aaron, they see the price and they instantly compare it to the people that came before them. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, this company came in at, half your price. And it's like, okay, well, Dripjobs is on the higher end, which isn't really that much. I tell people it's 3 gallons of paint a month, right? So you waste your 3 gallons of paint, you could have bought Dripjobs at 147. But listen, the other estimating and invoicing softwares are $30, $40. And that's one of the barriers of entry. People say, well, Joist is $30 or QuickBooks is $25. And it's like, so let me ask you, if you had someone tell you that, what would you say to them to justify the 147 if they went for the advanced plan, which our lowest plan is 97? What would you say to them?
I don't have any short answers. I had a car dealer tell me one time they put new brakes and new rotors on when they did an oil change on a vehicle that I had just purchased. And I went in to pick it up from the oil change. And I said, hey, did you get a chance to look at the brakes? And he says, yeah, we put new pads and new rotors on. And I said, not only are you not charging me for it, you weren't going to mention it. And he said, Aaron, here's the deal. He says, if you don't like me, you're going to tell everybody you ever met. If you love me, the flip side of that, you're going to tell a few people when you remember to. Sure. You and I and every painter, every contractor out there is in the same boat. The price, like you said, 3 gallons of paint, it's not like it's 10 times the price of your competition. It's a little more than your competition. It is also tailored to you. Right. To be honest, I couldn't accept credit cards before. It happens seamlessly. The to be my reviews. I get more organic leads now because it asks for a review. And at the end of every job in my exit interview, I'm like, all right, you're going to get a link to leave me a review. Please leave me a 5-star review. If not, let me know why.
Wow.
Before
I guarantee you're getting 90% reviews every single time.
So it is worth that.
Wow.
And it is dedicated to, not dedicated, it's primarily scaled to the painting industry.
It is.
So for 3 gallons of paint a month, as an owner or a decision maker in your company, what's your time worth?
Sure. What's your time worth? That's the good question right there.
What's your time worth? I know what I mean. I booked 2 $10,000 jobs because I didn't have to follow up. Let's cut that in half. 2 $5,000 jobs. Sure. What's your time worth to follow up on those?
Yeah.
To send pictures, to find the pictures, to do all of that monkey business. What's your time?
Wow.
It's easily worth that. Joy.
Last question. All right. So somebody justifies the expense, right? But here's the other side of this. Man, I got to learn a whole new software, right? I got to figure out how to do it. How easy is the software?
Every single software takes, I hate it because it's a buzzword, a minute. This literally took about a minute. And one of the things that I really appreciate while I've got you on a live call, I'll say it to your face. Thank you. When you message and have a question, you get a reply. Hey, I screwed up this part of the invoice. All right, I'll fix it. And he sends me a video telling me, all right, here's how you do it. Hey, maybe we should schedule a refresher course.
Let's jump on again. Go over this one again here.
The tech support's there. It's really pretty easy. In fact, I was surprised. We went through my onboarding call and we went through it, and I was really surprised as to how easy I was doing it. It's a little more, it's not more complicated. I'm not as familiar with it when you do an invoice only. If you're a contractor, or if you have to split a job into multiple, you're doing some this week, some 3 weeks.
Those features are coming soon. So I know what you mean. So no, it's important that you know that, because even me, and the thing is, some people don't, like, people just come in the Dripjobs, they're like, oh, I'm like some tech guy. No, I own a painting business and I use this every day. And I run into these things like, okay, well, it rained on Monday, and we're not going to go Tuesday and Wednesday, but we got to go back Thursday and Friday. We need a way to schedule those on separate days. So it's on the radar, man. And I love that, man, because the feedback is good. I don't take it personal. I'm like, okay, well, we got to knock that out too.
I didn't mean it. It's an opportunity, I guess.
It is.
It's easy to implement it. If you are not tech savvy and you're using Joyce or QuickBooks now, I got to tell you, I've used QuickBooks. It's way easier than QuickBooks. You will be booking jobs and entering people in 5 minutes.
And it integrates with QuickBooks if you use it for like your accounting and stuff.
Your accounting.
I hate QuickBooks. I am like anti-QuickBooks. Even at this stage, with my level of technical acumen, I still can't navigate QuickBooks effectively.
No, it's tough.
It's tough.
One thing that's really nice that Dripjobs gives you as a selling point is you've got your own link, and I put it on my Instagram, my Facebook.
Everyone loves the link, dude.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
One job pays for it for the year. Plus.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. Aaron, thank you, my friend. As always, you always bring energy and boost me up, man. Thank you again for your time. Obviously, this, everything was raw. So again, my goal is to get this software in as many people's hands as possible, for the mission and what it's doing. It's freeing your time, it's helping you grow. I mean, what greater purpose is that, man? So thanks again, bro. I appreciate you.
No problem. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
All right, man.